Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the 5 greatest Wagner conductors. And actually, Wagner conductors come in sort of 2 clumps. The ones who actually got to do complete operas and the ones who did orchestral stuff. And the issue here, for me anyway, is what survives on disc. Is there enough to really justify calling them the greatest Wagner conductors? Now, there's some who did lots of Wagner on disc, like Karajan and Schulte, and they're not on my list. They might be on yours. It's up to you to decide. But my list contains, I think, a fairly healthy mix of conductors whose surviving work justifies their claim to be great Wagner conductors. The greatest Wagner conductors. So we begin with Rudolf Kempe. Now, Kempe, of course, did that amazing reference recording of Lohengrin. And doing a reference recording of Lohengrin is really quite an achievement, because Lohengrin is one of the most monumentally boring operas that anybody ever wrote. There's that marvelous story about when Verdi went to see Lohengrin in Vienna. And he said that, well, I fell asleep, but then I looked around and I found that all the Viennese were asleep too, so I didn't feel so guilty about it. Yes, it's a very difficult opera to hold together, to cast, to make sound wonderful, to keep people's interest. I've seen it a couple times on stage. It's a chore. I mean, they're all just chanting Elsa von Brabant. It's like that thing. She's from Brabantia, that place. And then you've got like offstage brass doing fanfares constantly. And then there's that stupid scene when Telemarund finally has the fight with Lohengrin and he kills him. Possibly the stupidest fight scene in all of opera and the only exciting part in the entire act of that particular business. The best character is Ortrud, and she doesn't win in the end. You're rooting for her because she's exciting. Anyway, it's a tough opera, and Kempe nailed it. But he's also an incredible conductor of orchestral excerpts. He's a chord guy par excellence. He was an oboist, actually, and he was so into texture and sonority, and he makes everything sound just wonderful and keeps it moving. He was a great Wagner conductor. Next, Joseph Keilberth. Keilberth of the Keilberth Ring on Testament that was recorded in stereo that only came out a few years ago because of licensing issues and whatnot. It was an experimental Decca first live Bayreuth stereo cycle, and it's exciting. It's very, very exciting. Keilberth actually was a conductor similar to Karl Böhm, who could also be on your list of 5 greatest Wagner conductors, who also did an amazing ring cycle. His approach was swift, dramatic, detailed, absolutely thrilling. And we've got, the casting. Oh, the cast of this ring. You've got Astrid Varney and Ramon Vinay and Hans Hodder and Gray Broenstein and Wolfgang Windgassen and all the ring people, the Bayreuth people from the mid-50s, from the golden age of Wagner singing, or the second golden age, because it was an early one, a generation before. Really, really, really magnificent. And just a real man of the theater, Keilberth was. So he gets on the list. Some of you may be thinking, where is Mr. Furtwängler? That's a good question, actually. I'm not convinced of his fabulousness as a Wagner conductor. Yes, there are 2 grotty-sounding ring cycles done in Italy. They sound horrible. A Walküre with Bartha Mödel, which is really pretty good. And the classic Tristan and Isolde with Flagstad, which is also very, very good. But I think that there are better recordings of all of those things. If you just look at the work of the conductor alone, he was okay. He was okay, but not thrilling in my view. We'll talk about that more in a moment. But after Keilberth, Arturo Toscanini. Of course, he gets left out a lot on lists of great Wagner conductors, but remember, he was the preferred Wagner conductor at Bayreuth, in the 1930s. Of course, when Hitler came to power, he left Bayreuth, much to the consternation of the pro-Hitler Bayreuth folks. But Toscanini's Wagner is amazing, and fortunately, there's enough of it. The excerpts and one acts and things and other things with very good singers. He was an amazing Wagner conductor, absolutely thrilling. And you need to remember, when it comes to Toscanini, he was the one conductor, the oldest conductor, who actually was a contemporary of Wagner, at least for his early years. He was in his teens, I believe, when Wagner finally died. And he was there. I mean, he was a contemporary, and he lived to make recordings in really good mono sound, almost into the stereo era, which is pretty remarkable when you think about it, because you've got recordings by Wagner's son Siegfried Wagner and Karl Muck and all these like early Wagner people, and they're really grotty sounding, and they do excerpts and things, and they're not. And there are some longer things as well. But Toscanini was fortunately lived long enough to give us a really large sample of Wagner's orchestral music, and his conducting of it was second to none, and operatic scenes and other things like that. So yes, he definitely has to be on the list. And I know all the Furtwängler people will be jumping up and down hysterical because he's not there. But what can I tell you? You can put him on your list if you want. Rafael Kubelik. Oh, another terribly underrated but amazing Wagnerian. Kubelik was a tremendous operatic conductor generally, and he did very interesting operas. He did Matthäus der Maler and Palestrina and, all that kind of stuff. But his Wagner, well, we have, fortunately, 3 complete Wagner operas. There's Lohengrin, which he's very good at, but also Der Meistersinger and Parsifal. And Kubelik's other 2 recordings, they took them forever, again, because of licensing, to get released. But they're 2 absolutely knockout Wagner performances. Fabulous, fabulous, beautifully welded into a cohesive, wonderful cast of fabulous singers. Then Kubelik's conducting is as flowing and natural and exciting as you could ever want it to be. He was marvelous in the theater, and he also did a nice bit of Wagner excerpts, orchestral excerpts, that we can enjoy as well. So I think it would be a crime to leave him off the list. And last but not least, this may be kind of controversial too, but I think it's important, Daniel Barenboim, who is probably the greatest, well, he's still alive, but he's kind of like quasi-retired, but was the greatest Wagner conductor of modern years. In modern years, his conducting is uniformly outstanding. He did all the major Wagner operas and other things, of course. But what really is remarkable about Barenboim is that he did great Wagner without great Wagner singers. I mean, he had singers. Some of them were very good, but we're not talking about the golden age voices that really made, Wagner, what people listen to Wagner for. Because you don't really listen to Wagner for the conductor. You listen to Wagner for the singing. Because he wrote operas, I mean, you're supposed to hear singing. And Barenboim's Wagner conducting is so good that he gets away with some singing that is just not as good as this crew when they were singing Wagner. It's not that they're terrible, like I said, but, we have to deal with the modern dearth of outstanding Wagner voices. And Barenboim's conducting is... his model was Furtwängler, but he was a better conductor. That's why Furtwängler's not on my list. Because if there's somebody who can do the same thing Furtwängler did, only do it better, why should he be on the list? Well, there you go. Barenboim is better. He really, really is better as a conductor, and I think as an insightful Wagner proponent. A tremendous, tremendous conductor. And you can get all of his Wagner operas in this very inexpensive box. It's really a terrific job. I've got one sitting right up there. And I listen to them because I actually enjoy listening to them when I don't care about the singing so much. You just put them on and listen to them. It's just wonderful. He captures the ebb and flow of these pieces. He just knows how to handle transitions, and his tempi almost always sound right. He's just an amazing Wagner conductor. And we have to give him credit where credit is due. So that is my list of the 5 greatest Wagner conductors. And it's up to you to come up with your list of the 5 greatest Wagner conductors. And by the way, I mean, I just have to say, I know no one's going to listen to this, because what happens in these talks is people look at the list because it's there, and then they don't watch the video, and they just give their own list. And so they say things and do things that I specifically address in the video, but which they haven't heard because they haven't watched it. Fortunately, a lot of those people I can catch, and I can delete their comments. So, if you've gotten this far, then you'll know what to do. I'm just saying, make your own list. Don't say, why did you leave off so-and-so, or why did you not include it? It's not the point. The point is, this is mine, you do yours. And then we'll have a conversation. We'll have an interesting body of work that people who may not know Wagner and the great Wagner conductors all that well can read and think about and listen to and choose, and it'll be a useful conversation. And that's the point. That's the idea. So give it a shot if you're a Wagnerian. And if you're not, that's okay. We'll do Verdi later. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.